Welcome to another interview session here at On the Way Productions, and today we are with Colin Gwynn at Interdrone. Some of you may or may not have heard of Colin, but he's got quite the reputation in the field. He was a real pioneer back when DJI first came to the United States. So Colin, my friend, you lived quite the colorful life, both around and in the drone industry. So what keeps you coming back?
I'm just a geek at heart. I love gadgets and tech, and if they fly, it's even cooler. So I think that's what originally attracted me to drones was
Yeah.
just an excuse to build a super fancy toy helicopter, and it just kind of went from there. But yeah, I just am a geek. I think at heart, I love tech, and I've always loved RC stuff. And there's probably some male ego part of me that loves to be able to control things in 3D space since I can't fly.
Yeah.
So those are probably some of like the inherent draws to it. Just like watching something fly around is
Right.
really gratifying. And yeah, I think figuring out a way to use cool, fun gadgets to do real value creation in the world is exciting, and like trying to like put those things together.
Okay. You put DJI on the map, literally. You were pretty much the face of DJI in the USA. It's probably kind of old hat, but what happened to that, that relationship?
I mean, Frank and I still maintain a good relationship. We text back and forth, and I think, when I first hired DJI to develop a gimbal, like they were a small, like 15, 17 person company making an autopilot, and we were just young guys building stuff together, right? And so when we came up with our partnership agreement, we weren't stipulating being at $1 billion of revenue in 4 years. And so I think that's likely, like, if there was really like the culprit of how that happened, it was like we were probably a little bit of a victim of over success or something, growing too fast, too quick. And, what made sense to them as a $3 million revenue company probably was not nearly as attractive looking at $1 billion revenue company.
Yeah.
And so, just I think the way things go down, but I think it worked really well because we had this really unique combination of a team in the US that was the customer. Like we had been doing aerial photography for years, and we had been in production for years. And so we really knew, because we were that customer, what the customer wanted. Like I knew what gadget I wanted to fly around and get aerial video. And they were incredibly capable and talented at innovating ways to develop the thing that we wanted quickly, cost effectively, and make them fast and cheap.
Yeah.
And so they had that kind of China prowess of rapid innovation, rapid prototyping, rapid production, low cost manufacturing capabilities, owning their own factory, and then we brought market intelligence, awareness, branding, value creation, kind of value proposition, communication, the narrative, all of that. And we could engage with the market in a way that the market could understand and was resonant with.
Sure.
And so we had this kind of 1-2 punch of like so many of the things that we do well here in the West, and then so many of the things that they do well in the East, and it became tough to compete against. And I don't even think we realized what, we didn't go in with that plan. It just, this perfect storm, created a pretty strong value proposition. Yeah.
The timing.
Yeah.
Wow.
There was timing and luck, and we just, we developed the Phantom One as like a trainer to buy our S800s and Zen Muses. We like inadvertently created the consumer drone industry. Yeah.
That's a good story. So you had a good background, I guess, and as you said, like in film or cinematography is something you got into, and you saw the need, and they filled the gap. But that was a very good forethought, to get it up, get that camera up above.
Yes.
And
and there were people doing that. I wasn't the first person putting cameras on helicopters. I was in those very early days where you had to like build your own thing in the garage and get out a Dremel and chop things up, and that was just a fun project. And I think maybe where our timing was good is that I could see that there was a really high demand for higher quality video, because we were shooting a bunch of movie and TV shows and stuff like that. And I knew that, man, if we could figure out a way to shoot stable video, this would become 10x more valuable,
Oh, yeah.
or 100x more valuable.
You miniaturized the gimbals.
That's all we did. That was the thing that really opened up the market and generated like demand from videographers.
Yeah.
Because before that, you see shaky, crappy footage. You're like, it's neat, but like that wouldn't work on any of my productions. But as soon as we could show rock solid, stable video, that just opened the floodgates of like, I want that, because we can use that in every production.
Well, so that's great. You still share a good relationship with Frank, the Aftermath. So, Colin, you moved over to 3DR, and we could see your incredible cinematic touch on those ads. And the rumors were that ad campaign was over $1 million. Baboons and an astronaut.
We shot that internally, and our biggest line item budget was, I think it was $18,000 to train the chimpanzee to pull the remote control out of the case. Everything else we did internally.
In-house.
That video probably cost us $30,000 to $40,000 to make.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Did you get any awards for that video?
I think we did. I showed it to Michael Bay, and he was like, "Who made this?" And I was like,
"Wow,
me and my friends, like our internal video production team." That was John Buttrey and Adam Schlinder, and guys that were worked with me before DJI actually, and then were part of the creative team at DJI, and then creative team at 3DR.
Yeah,
there was a lot of interns rotoscoping, a lot of astronaut floating up, and by the way, there was only 2 chimps that we shot. Everything else was rotoscoped and visual effect.
Wow. All
kind of
in-house.
replicated, all in-house. With
what cameras and what editing software did you use to do that?
Cinema 4D and all Adobe suite, so Premiere and After Effects, and then Cinema 4D for the visual, motion graphics, and then we shot it all in Red.
And you had all that talent within you and your teammates to produce that thing.
Yeah.
You were a king of the nerd and cinema.
It's all about just, excuses to use cool tech, But I see that in Kurt Morgan, too, a good friend of mine that ran that company, Brain Farm,
Oh, yeah.
It's all about the tech and how to use it to tell stories in a creative way. But yeah, I think 3DR was just a matter of we just wanted to keep innovating the ability to capture, we wanted to keep innovating the ability to capture really compelling shots. And what we noticed when we developed the S800, you had one person controlling the camera and one person controlling the drone, right? And you could capture these really dynamic shots. When you flew a Phantom, you couldn't really do these dynamic shots. You could only do kind of one-axis shots. Push in, go across, fly over, because it just was too complex to do with one operator. So with Solo, we innovated Smart Shots, which was a way to take an existing technology of waypoint navigation and make it more real-time shot creation with Smart Shots and orbits and this multi-point cable cam and setting keyframes. It was just productizing waypoint navigation into something that was usable by a cinematographer.
Yeah, it was an impressive list of features when it came out. I remember we bought one, and we had to go out and do a shoot in St. Thomas, and we had barely used it.
Yeah.
But I got it, so we get it on the boat. It wouldn't take off.
Oh, because the phone was moving.
And we're on the phone.
Yeah.
This kind of brings up the whole cart before the horse.
This still happens to me. We shoot with Malibu every year, and the Inspire 2 has actually gotten more sensitive over time.
Really?
Their firmware is getting more and more sensitive to motion in the IMU, and so we'll have to beach it, get on land, boot it up on land, take off, and then track the boats.
Yeah, that's what we had to do.
It's a give and take. You can either ignore the IMU data and let the drone take off and hope everything's good, or you require the IMU to, confirm that the drone is still, but then you can't take off from boat. Roadmap for Solo was boat mode, and
right, I heard,
never, they decided to pull out of Solo, but there's a way that you could basically go into boat mode and say, ignore the IMU data for my next 5 takeoffs. But then after 5 takeoffs, you'd have to go find still ground, and so we were trying to find a way to split the difference between,
medium,
so that, because if you ignore it forever, then all of a sudden you're letting people take off and the drone could get confused and fly off. So,
the thing that hurt the most seemed like the gimbal just didn't come out on time.
Man, it was a timing thing. Yeah, it was timing and it was cogs. But what we learned, so we were the first drone to hit like big box retail. We were the first drone Best Buy sold, we were the first drone Harrods sold, Harvey Norman, all these like big international retailers. And when you're working with these international retailers, it's not like, hey, my thing's done, you want to buy it? Here it is. You're having these conversations 9 months before load-in, right? And you're negotiating their POs 6 months before you have to deliver. So when we're in that process, you're developing a product at the same time and you're trying to get it out quickly. And so it became like, look, okay, we could ship the drone up to 4 weeks ahead of the gimbal. Like if we launched the drone on Father's Day, as long as we could ship the gimbal within 4 weeks, then we're good. And we would wait. It was this whole game with the product development team and the engineers, and we were using contract engineers and contract manufacturers to make it. And we learned so much in that process. But ultimately, like, we agreed to what we agreed to with Best Buy. We took their POs. We, put in our kiosks. I mean, it's like a major rollout, right? And you don't just not ship the product when 30 days before you're supposed to launch that actually the gimbal's not going to be ready in 4 weeks after the drone. And then gimbals are hard. It didn't pass wireless EMI emissions. So then in the last minute, we had to switch to this really thick HDMI cable that wouldn't emit EMI, but then it was killing the performance of the gimbal.
Yeah.
And the GoPro only output video through HDMI. So HDMI was like the bane of my existence, that whole gimbal project. So we went to like this really thin, nice ribbon HDMI cable that worked perfectly, but didn't pass FCC cert, which was like a last minute thing. I mean, it was like, man, we've learned a lot through many successful market battles won and getting our ass kicked a number of times.
So you take all that great knowledge now, and that's in your new business.
And we try to help entrepreneurs and engineers that are developing really incredible technology navigate some of those waters that they're not necessarily like some of the things that cropped up and popped up for us that we didn't see coming. Now we can help try and have a little bit more visibility into that stuff that like certs and what happens when you're having to negotiate contracts and POs 6 months before delivery, and just trying to be really optimistic yet realistic at the same time, and not letting ego get in the way. Like I had so much of my ego getting in the way with 3DR and like having to like have the best drone ever and it has to launch on time and it has to be amazing. And we built a great drone, and it's ironic, right? Because if we would have gone forth with Solo 2 with like an integrated GH4 sensor, and something like that with a software-defined radio, now all of a sudden when the government says we need a U.S. drone for a squad-level drone, there it would have been right there. And so hindsight's always 20/20, right? But we've learned a lot, and so if we can help companies, or we just want to help get these really cool ideas and innovations and gadgets creating real value into the market and into the world.
So if someone has a target market, a demographic, they can come to you in your consulting firm, and you'll help them bring that product to market. You'll see the caveats.
We usually help them kind of get from 90% completion to 98% completion, where you can actually launch it. That last little kind of user experience workflow, how is this actually going to work? Like unboxing, how-to videos, like complete that whole experience of consuming the product. And that's usually the first 6 months of us working with the client. And then we'll launch the product and we'll do all the, website content, all the stuff that we did with DJI and 3DR. Like, we don't just tell them what to do. Like, we'll build their whole go-to-market strategy.
Okay.
And we either do it for, cash or cash plus equity or something like that. And so, we have 15 to 20 clients at a time, maybe half in the U.S. and half from around the world. And, we get to develop really cool, awesome toys and fun projects, and mostly in drones, but some in, just fun stuff that we're into, like powered hydrofoil surfboards and, some other fun stuff.
Do people come to you to get matched up they may have, like in research, they have this great idea how drones could be used, and that's something they would bring to you. I imagine you wouldn't charge them for that you're going to match them up and bring more business and more market penetration to perhaps some of these companies that you're working with?
Yeah, so a lot of time we play matchmaker.
Yeah.
And so while we may only have 15 or 20 like actual clients at a time, we've got hundreds of companies that we're in open dialogue and conversation with. So a lot of what we do is like a non-paying client or person, company wants to get connected with somebody that makes X type of sensor or whatever, and we just happen to know somebody that makes that type of sensor, also a non-paying client, and we're just like, hey, you guys need to talk to each other, and like maybe someday that comes back to us in some way, but like we're trying all day long to just create value and provide value to the industry as a whole. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times we'll sit on the phone with someone for 2 hours that we know good and well is not going to be a client anytime soon, but if we can impart some of our lessons learned, and 2 years from then, maybe they get their thing up and running and they built the prototype and they're ready to like really take it to market, and maybe we'll work with them 2 years from now, whatever. So yeah, we spend a great deal of our time just having conversations and giving free advice.
Great. So do you recommend to most of your clients that they create an open platform? Is that a good philosophy to take?
Well, I think if you take it one step wider than that, we highly encourage collaboration over competition. So yeah, if there's any way to I think people oftentimes have like a scarcity mentality and kind of a scarcity duality mentality versus a unity and kind of abundance mentality. And so we definitely try to promote the fact that look, first let's make a market, right? Like you don't see drones flying around doing work every day. That will happen, and there will be hundreds of times the volume of drones sold that there is today. Some number of years from now. Is it 3 years from now? Is it 5 years from now? Is it 10 years from now? But somewhere in that range, there will be hundreds and hundreds of times the volume that there is today. So let's not worry so much about this is my thing, this is my idea, I can't let anyone find out about this. I like to point to the fact that Elon Musk is like, here's how we did it with Tesla. It's all open source. Here you go. This is good for humans. And I think if you can come from that mentality of we're just trying to create value for the world, the species, whatever, it's going to come back. And you don't have to have that fear energy of that lack and scarcity mentality of someone's going to, if I don't make all the money from it, someone else is. And if they make money, then I don't make money. We don't see the world in that way. Yeah. So we definitely encourage openness and collaboration.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that seems like that was a big message here at Interdrone.
Yeah.
Was open architectures.
Yeah.
Is the way to go. If you lock everything down, you're going to lose.
Yeah.
Market share. You're going to lose. Right. The world's going to lose out on technology.
That's right. You're just going to reduce the pace of adoption and reduce the pace of innovation. And I think we have the team in place that if someday something makes sense for us to all put all our creative force behind and start something, then we could, and we're not diabolically opposed to doing that. But I think for now we can have a more exponential effect by kind of sharing our lessons learned and offering advice and guidance and strategy, versus necessarily doing all of the execution. We'll do the execution on the go-to-market part and the revenue generation. We're building websites all day, and we're cutting videos, and we're writing copy, and we're doing case studies. So we do that work. But in terms of the time it takes to develop the product, we can be helping tell the story of 15 or 20 different products and trying to increase that adoption rate. And so for now, it feels like we can do the most good from that place. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's not a get-rich-quick scheme, right? Because we're going to get a little tiny piece of these deals, and maybe over time that works out really well. Yeah. But I think it's the fastest way for us to be able to inject everything that we've learned along the way and give it to as many people as possible.
Yeah, hey, you're giving back to the industry, which is great. You get your free when you do your talks.
Yeah, we try to put out valuable content. We're not asking for anything in return. We put out the ebooks for free. And I think that's an example of just knowing hey, look, we're just being collaborative, and there's going to be times when big companies say, hey, we want to pay you for your focused effort on this thing, and that's great. And we do that, and that keeps the doors, it keeps the lights on, and we haven't taken any funding, and we've got an 18, 20 person team, and we're profitable, and we're forced to provide real value.
Okay. Where are you guys based?
We're in Austin.
Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
Okay, great, Colin. That was a lot of fantastic information. Thank you for coming on the show. This has been Harry Rabin for On the Way Productions, and we'll catch you on the next interview.